Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
You friggin' know it.
And my name is Kenya, and I have been crushing remembering my name.
You have.
Yeah, you have been.
Yeah.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda.
Mm-hmm. Amanda just officiated a friend's wedding.
I did. And it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And this past weekend was amazing. And then in the most, you just had a great weekend. Now it's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Monday ever.
Snap back to reality.
Snapped my toenail clear off.
Gross.
Tripping on a piece of broken concrete this morning.
Mm-hmm.
But my
Did you
patio's
cry?
going in. I didn't because it happened so fast and I was in front of like
A stranger.
repairman
Yeah.
that I held it together. And then I came inside and I saw that my toe was bleeding and I was like, well, I stubbed my toe. And then I like went to clean it up and I was like, oh,
The nail came clean off.
all the way off. I sent them a
Oh.
photo of the nail in a bloody like
I want a photo of
paper
the
towel.
stump.
The stump is very well wrapped right now. So
Stump,
When
I
you
replace
change it.
when
When
I
you
replace
change
my
it.
bandages, I will text you a photo of the stump.
And
my
I'll send you
severed
updates
stump.
on my plantar wart, which
That's
is healing
okay.
beautifully, according to my podiatrist,
Well,
who's
according
a
to
little
the,
ornery.
according to the nurse line I called this morning, it quote should grow back.
I have a friend.
So-
Well, I knew someone who, like, ran a lot, was like a marathoner.
Yeah,
And-
Mhm.
They wore off some of their toenails off
Oh,
their
yeah.
feet.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
bad. That's obviously not how I did it.
No,
So-
more training.
One Halloween, Blortney was wearing fishnets. She was like a satanic nurse.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm.
And in retrospect, she probably should have been wearing like socks or stockings under the fishnets because
Oh,
they
God.
just got all wrapped up in her toenails.
No.
I think she lost about 4 toenails that night.
No.
From the fishnets.
Yes.
Blortney, honey,
Blortney.
that's how you know you got to trim those bad boys.
Yeah.
Blortney's got kind of crazy toenails.
She's got long toenails, and I have 2 short toenails. Like, I always get yelled at the, like,
Ugh.
back when I could get pedicures, I would get yelled at by the people being like,
I won't
"Your
be able to get a
toenails are too
pedicure.
short."
I've only been able to get
Sure.
pedicures for like 2 months since breaking my toe.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't get pedicures for like 6 months because I don't have a toenail.
They can do the other 9.
Yeah. Maybe they'll
Ugh.
give you a discount, 10%
My friend
off.
Dave offered to tattoo one on. 10%. You're only doing 90% of my toes, so
All right, well, on that note, we're not doing anything
Ugh.
related to toes.
I'm so upset.
We just had to get that out. We have a very special fan pick this week brought to you by our fan picker, Lauren Kawasaki. Lauren has selected the topic, naughty nonprofits.
Y'all, there's a lot.
There's a lot. Not to like discourage charitable giving, which should happen, but you just need to vet
Yep.
where you're giving.
And maybe balance your charitable giving with direct giving,
Action.
which
Yeah.
bypasses the nonprofit industrial complex entirely.
Well, yeah.
Balance, like a Libra. I've worked for nonprofits too,
Yeah.
so I can say it.
Yep.
They're not all great.
They're not all great. They're not all bad.
We'll
Also,
get to it.
the indicator of like how much is going to programs versus
Yeah.
like overhead can be very misleading because
Yep.
sometimes you need some of that quote unquote overhead to function. Like you need printer ink.
Mm-hmm.
You need
But-
office supplies.
But it can also be misleading in a deceptive way.
That's true. Gotta do
So
your research.
A lot of vetting. Do your research. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Lauren. Lauren also was extremely generous and
So
giving,
generous.
Yes.
with
Charitable.
charitable with our wine pairing. So Amanda, take it away.
Okay, so Lauren works for Sokol Winery
Yep.
in Dundee Hills, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Stunning. I love
Beautiful.
Willamette
Sokol
Valley
Blosser,
wines.
no less.
Sokol. And sent us some amazing wines. And also, they wanted to point out that they have winery kitties, and their photos will be on the blog. They are in the drive, so please go look at them.
So fucking cute.
They are, quote, stinking adorable and are named Harry and Sebastian. I've attached a billion adorable pics of them in Halloween costumes, taking over my desk, chair, and desk while I try to work. There are winery cat ambassadors, aka CAOs, Chief Adorable Officers.
I feel like that is Lucy's version of heaven. Like
yeah, and one of them looks like a,
you mean
a
the
trimmed down
CAO?
Ray.
Yeah. Ray.
These two look like a healthy Ray.
Ray has the same sunglasses as Sebastian and Harry.
Truth. So good. And the Sokol Blosser Winery has been generous enough to extend that generosity to all of you listeners with a one-time discount code for 10% off any wine purchase.
10% off.
Yep, 10% off, like how many toenails I'm down. I'm down 10% of my toenails. And that you will be down 10% of the price of their wine with code GALS10. It's running through the end of October. So you can head to their website, sokolblosser.com. That's SOKOLBLOSSER.com.
Yeah.
And make a purchase and use that code GALS10 at checkout for 10% off.
Yeah. And treat yourself.
I'm so
Seriously.
excited about this.
It's amazing. Lauren included so many great goodies. I have a candle, a wine candle that is delightful.
Our
There's little
Sokol Blosser wine glasses.
stemless wine glass. And then she knows I love a Willamette Pinot. So she sent me their Pinot Noir. It's a
nice.
2018 Estate Pinot Noir. It is stun. It says on the label here, this wine is the result of our unique climate, volcanic Jory soil, carefully chosen grape clusters, 17 months of French oak aging, and a singular approach to winemaking perfected over 40 years. The result is flavors of black cherry and raspberry mingling with earth and truffle. We hope you enjoy it as much as we love making it. I'm telling you right now, I will.
Wow.
Clocks in at a perfect 14%. Again, this is all organic grapes out of Oregon. I'm so excited. Lucy has wine too. Which one are you drinking?
It's the, I have no idea how to say this, Mueller Thurgau.
Oh, yeah,
I
the
got
white.
the same one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a white.
Lauren sent me the same one, and full disclosure, I did receive it, but it is 3 floors down in my house, and I am too lazy to go down and back up to get it, but I
That's
will
fair.
be drinking it tonight with my husband.
She sent
Well-
us some rosé too. Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
I love
Lauren
it.
is so charitable.
I think I got
Seriously.
a sparkling with my Morgan.
Lock?
I
Well, Lucy, do you want to do the honors this week? You haven't gotten to do a pop in so long.
know. I'm excited.
Do it. Oh,
I
God.
should have started this.
That's okay. Do you have lotion on?
No.
Then you're doing great.
I got to stand up.
What? I need to make you open wine more often.
This is
Too good.
I get it, obviously.
Gets it.
Oh, my gourd.
I need to clear a room before I get open.
I mean, yeah.
Back away from the windows.
She points it right at your face.
Okay, here's the hard part. Ready?
Here we go. You're doing great.
You are.
Oh! Stunning pop.
Nice pap.
You really
Sweaty.
did
Look
it.
how red I am.
Yeah, Lucy's bright red.
Are you okay?
I was nervous.
All right, well,
Clearly.
cheers.
Cheers. And
Cheers.
thanks again to Lauren for the wines.
Thank you, Lauren.
So
All
good.
right.
I also
Well-
popped a gummy, so I am very ready.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a drunk dive recording
oh my
after.
God, this is fucking good.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
We're going to be doing a
Uh-oh.
drunk dive after this episode, so
I'm gonna
buckle
drink this
up.
whole bottle.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, this is good.
All right. Well, Lucy, before you get too turnt, what is our background and maybe psych for naughty nonprofits?
No psych.
No psych.
Oh, okay.
So generally speaking, a nonprofit organization is an organization typically dedicated to pursuing mission-oriented goals through the collective actions of citizens that is not formed and organized so as to generate a profit.
Mm-hmm.
We get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But there's an awful lot of like details about nonprofits. So I hope my segment isn't that boring, but I felt like it was important to talk about like how they function, you know, like the tax shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot that could be said. I've taken multiple courses on nonprofit. There's a lot going on. So
Heck.
we will just touch the surface.
Skim it.
Mm-hmm.
A nonprofit organization is a business that has been granted tax-exempt status by the IRS because it furthers a social cause and provides a public benefit. All great. Why should they pay taxes? They're doing a service, in theory.
Mm-hmm.
Donations made to a nonprofit organization are typically tax-deductible to individuals and businesses that make them, and the nonprofit itself pays no tax on the received donations or on any other money earned through fundraising activities. Excuse me. A nonprofit is subject to the non-distribution constraint, which means any revenues that exceed expenses must be committed to the organization's purpose and not taken by private parties.
So no
any
shareholders.
any extra money goes back into the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Some examples of nonprofit organizations are hospitals, universities, social clubs, most political organizations, and we're going to circle back to those,
Mm-hmm.
churches and charities. Demographic groups that are disenfranchised, such as ethnic minorities, can form nonprofit organizations and develop a collective voice in the polity that is stronger than their voice in traditional representative governments.
Mm-hmm.
A common misconception about nonprofits is that they may not make a profit. It's not what that's not what
That's
we're
not what
talking
it
about.
means.
Although the goal of nonprofits isn't specifically to maximize profits, they still have to operate as a fiscally responsible business. They're still a business or, organization. They must manage their income, both grants and donations and income from services, and expenses so as to remain a fiscally viable entity. Nonprofits have the responsibility of focusing on being professional, financially responsible, replacing self-interest and profit motive with mission motive. It's also super important to be transparent so that you have like the public's trust because you're relying on the public for your survival.
Yeah, you're funding.
So it's important to nonprofits that they look good and that they're following along with their mission.
And sometimes people misunderstand and they're like, well, if you have all this extra money sitting around, why don't you spend it? Or why don't you create this program? Or why don't you do this? Or, expand or hire this person? And it's sometimes they should. And sometimes, there's a lot of value in knowing that you have that pot of money the following year to roll over in case donations or grants or something else fluctuates. You need to have that kind of baseline. So, just
Which
like
they're
you would
bound
need with
to do.
Right, with a savings account or whatever.
There's a cushion.
Right. It's good to have a cushion. And I think a lot of people misunderstand that sometimes. And they're like, well, they're just sitting on all this money. It's like, well, no, they're trying to be sustainable.
Right. A lot of times people use nonprofit and not-for-profit interchangeably, and they are actually two different things. So just to kind of explain that, both are organizations that do not make a profit, but they may receive an income to sustain their missions. The income that nonprofit and not-for-profit organizations generate is used differently. This is how they're different. So nonprofits, like we said, return any extra income to the organization, but not-for-profits use their excess money to pay their members who do work for them. So another difference between nonprofits and not-for-profits is their membership. Nonprofits have volunteers or employees who do not receive any money from the organization's fundraising efforts. They may earn a salary for their work that is independent from the money the organization has fundraised, whereas not-for-profit members have the opportunity to benefit from the organization's fundraising efforts. I think what this really comes down to is where the monies go to, when and how, and it affects the tax aspect of it. So that's kind of where they are on paper two different things.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sort of.
Are the workers for a not-for-profit, in essence, also kind of co-beneficiaries, whereas the workers in a nonprofit might not necessarily be the beneficiaries or clients at all and are probably not?
I think basically yes.
Okay.
That really would take a tax lawyer to really know for sure. I'll kind of get into the different types of tax exempt organizations because they are like they're categorized differently. Like we say 501c3.
Right.
In the U.S., we say that, and
Yeah.
people say that all the time for people not in the U.S. as like shorthand for a nonprofit, but it's a type of nonprofit.
Right.
Exactly. And so I'll kind of get into that too. Okay, so like I kind of said, and this is from Wikipedia, the key aspects of nonprofits are accountability, trustworthiness, honesty, and openness to every person who has invested time, money, and faith into the organization. Nonprofit organizations are accountable to the donors, founders, volunteers, program recipients, and the public community. For a nonprofit that seeks to finance its operations through donations, public confidence is a factor in the amount of money that a nonprofit organization is able to raise. The more nonprofits focus on their mission, the more public confidence they will have. And this obviously results in more money for the nonprofit.
And the amount of public confidence in an organization or a type of organization fluctuates so much. Like there are societal trends here that people don't even realize are going on. Then there are other trends that are like so obvious that, you know, they get spoken about. And it also is like very cultural. So like the type of giving in the US is very different than the type of giving in Europe or in South Africa, like where I lived, or in China. Like the way.
Wait, you lived in South Africa?
Well, you guys, I'm just bringing up a point that it's different where you live.
I think that's a good point to bring up. And also,
Yeah.
like, in the United States,
A lot
all
of church
of the
stuff,
Oh, mine's
lots
about
of church
a
stuff.
lot of political stuff.
You're covering a political thing, right?
It became political
I'm doing a church thing, so we're definitely covering like some
US.
bases.
type.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so the activities a nonprofit is partaking in can help build the public's confidence in nonprofits, as well as how ethical the standards and practices are. So ethics, practices, that mission statement, these are all like super fucking integral to the success of any given nonprofit. Okay, on to the exciting tax code stuff.
Oh my God, I cannot wait.
I can't believe we've gotten to the tax code and not forensic accounting yet in this podcast.
I thought we
I
did a
know.
forensic accounting episode. Did we not?
Oh, we got to get that on the calendar.
I really thought we did. Well, we've done forensic weather.
Meteorology.
Yeah,
That was a killer episode.
I know.
That was a good one. I still think
Saga.
about that plane crash. The big one.
Ugh.
Okay. I'm usually thinking about plane crashes.
That's true. This isn't new.
So Congress has created 29 types of tax-exempt organizations in different sections of the tax code. These sections include Section 501c4, which includes social welfare organizations, homeowners associations, and volunteer fire companies, for example. Section 501c5 includes labor unions. 501c6 includes chambers of commerce. And Section 501k are all childcare organizations.
Got it.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
fucking many.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see why you can't just lump all nonprofits and
Totally.
call them 501c3s.
Right.
Right.
That makes sense.
Not-for-profits because we talked about how they are different, fall under 501c7.
Oh,
Each
okay.
section identifies certain conditions that must be met to be exempt from paying federal income taxes. The one common condition is not paying out profits. So that is in the code is cited as no part of the organization's net earnings can inure to the benefit of any private shareholder or individual. Hence the term nonprofit.
Got it.
Section 501c3, the big one, of the tax code refers to public charities, also known as charitable nonprofits, and private foundations. The tax code considers churches and religious organizations to be public charities. So,
Okay.
like I said, calling something a nonprofit does not necessarily mean it's a 501c3. That's just defining which section of the federal tax code the organization falls under.
Okay.
And
then
also-
I have a tax question.
I
that
thought I had intentionally
I
misunderstood
don't have
the
an
assignment,
answer.
but I guess I didn't, and you just answered that question.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, you're good. My tax question, and I would love a tax lawyer to get at me,
Oh, Lord.
is that so in a lot of like Christian churches, there's no like fee to be a member.
Right.
You know, you can just join the church at any time. You can attend services at any time, and you choose whether or not you want to donate your money. And then
Right.
if you do donate that money, it's tax deductible.
Mm-hmm.
In the Judaism tradition, it's more common to have like member fees to belong to a synagogue or a temple. So you pay like those annual fees, and then you have access to like certain high holiday services. And of course, if you can't afford them, there's like, you know, things that can be implemented to like waive your fees. But most
It's like a YMCA.
Yeah.
exactly. Most people are supposed to pay the membership fees, and they're not nothing.
Right.
It can be like $1,800 a year or something for like a
Dang.
family. It's a lot of money. So when I was doing our taxes, I was like, okay, well, that's a religious,
Right off,
thing
basically. Yeah.
that should be a write-off. And according to H&R Block robots, it was not. And
That doesn't make sense.
that doesn't make sense,
Is
right?
it not a 501c then?
C3?
Well, religious
C3?
organizations are
synagogue.
they're- it should be a 501c3. It's a religious
Interesting.
organization.
Isn't that weird?
Well, then
So
maybe maybe
got
you should
screwed
have
over.
a person do your
I
taxes
know.
and not a robot.
I know. I'm gonna work
I
on
can
that.
never. I can't.
I don't
I
trust
just
robots.
throw all my shit at another human, and I'm just like, please make it go. Just
Yep.
just do it.
Tell me
I
what
don't
number
get
to
it.
write in the check
The last-
line.
Yeah, that last box.
Yeah.
I'm a smart person, but that is absolutely
How
out of
smart
my
you are
wheelhouse.
has nothing to
No.
do with your ability to understand taxes. Because it's literally an entire language that is specifically written to be confusing.
And that changes.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is
stop it, Ray.
intentional.
Oh my God. He just scrolled me all the way back up to the top of the document. One
Well,
second.
you should pay attention to him.
You should pay your taxes.
It's a cry for help.
It's a cry for help.
Pets are exempt.
Pets
Oh,
are
you're
exempt.
aren't you? Okay. Also, kind of interesting to note, an entity can incorporate itself as a nonprofit without actually securing tax-exempt status.
Interesting.
I think because it's complicated and it can be very expensive to apply as a tax-exempt status entity. You have to apply. You have to fill out a form. You have to apply for it. There's like a fucking $850
Yeah,
filing
it's expensive
fee.
to become a nonprofit.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of not just like podcasts, a lot probably get started and don't last very long and don't really make it to that next level of being approved.
I think
Right.
it's also you're essentially subjecting yourself to a regular audit also. So if you're caught
Misincorporating or whatever, misappropriating
misattributing
funds.
funds, then losing that status can be extraordinarily expensive because
Yeah,
then
you
you
gotta
have to
pay
pay all your
fines and shit.
taxes.
Yeah.
You'd think there would be more audits than there are, and we will get to it.
Yo.
I'm sure we will.
Well, and I feel like they audit
smaller,
Yeah,
poorer
it seems
people of
like
color.
smaller organizations seem to get audited while large ones that are running absolutely amok and exploiting people tend to go unchecked. Funny how that works.
Okay, so like I just said, due to the tax deductions associated with donations, loss of a 501c3 status can be highly challenging, if not fatal, to a charity's continued operation, as many foundations and corporate matching funds do not grant funds to a charity without such a status. And individual donors often do not donate to such a charity due to the unavailability of the deduction. So not only is it bad for your organization financially to lose that status, but you're also a lot less likely to receive funding in the future because people are like, well, no, you're just throwing money at some random company.
There's not that added benefit of the tax deduction. And it also might make some people think, well, are you really a nonprofit if it's not tax deductible? And like,
and
hesitate.
why should I donate to you if I'm not getting a deduction out of it? Yeah. So as far as these political organizations go, there are rules about what they can and can't do, fortunately, currently. In 1954, the Johnson Amendment was enacted as a provision in the U.S. tax code that prohibits all 501c3 nonprofit organizations, so like we said, churches, namely, from endorsing or opposing specific political candidates.
Keep that one in mind for later.
Some politicians, including Donald Trump, have sought to repeal the provision. Is this what your case is on, his attempt to repeal?
No, actually, not his attempt to repeal, but his attempt to repeal makes a lot of sense because he got sued for violating this.
Right.
Yes. There it is. Yeah, we got it. Okay, so he sought to repeal it, arguing that it restricts the free speech rights of churches and other religious groups. Jesus. These efforts have been criticized, obviously,
Right.
because churches have fewer reporting requirements than other nonprofit organizations. So basically, if you were to start a church, you don't have to apply for this status. It's just automatically granted to you.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
That is fucking absurd.
Yep. And because it would effectively make political contributions tax deductible.
Yep.
On May 4th, 2017, Trump signed an executive order, quote, to defend the freedom of religion and speech for the purpose of easing the Johnson Amendment's restrictions.
My eyes are rolling so far out of my head. It's painful.
This executive order does not repeal the Johnson Amendment, nor does it allow ministers to endorse from the pulpit, but it does halt the enforcement of its consequences by directing the Department of Treasury that, quote, churches should not be found guilty of implied endorsements where secular organizations would not be.
You can still bite. We're just going to remove all your teeth.
Yep.
Exactly. So there's that. And I want to close us out by giving you some data from 2019 from the National.
Data.
I love data. From the National Center for Charitable Statistics that will warm your cold, dead hearts. So,
Try me.
yeah, well, you're a tough, cold nut.
I know.
Tough broad with 9 toenails.
Tough cold nut with 10% now with 10% less toenails.
You're a tough 9-toed broad.
I am a nut. You know what? I think my dad was onto something with allowing diabetes to take most of his feet. If I don't have the feet, I don't need to deal with toe trauma.
Most of his feet. Are we just rounding up?
Well, yeah. He had one foot was totally gone, and then at least one toe from the other foot. So most of it was gone.
All right,
Okay.
that's the majority.
I thought we were
A silent
rounding
majority of
up.
his feet.
just ew.
Don't tread on me.
Ghost foot.
He couldn't tread on you if he wanted to.
I know.
Don't jump on me.
Oh, God. Poor bastard. Anyway.
Approximately
Such a good
1.
man.
He was the best. Approximately 1.54 million nonprofits were registered with the IRS in 2016, which was an increase of 4.5% from 2006. It's a lot of fucking nonprofits in this country.
It really is.
The nonprofit sector contributed an estimated. Okay, this number was really weird. There are like there are too many periods in this number.
I would say 1.04 trillion.
Yeah, it's okay.
I wouldn't.
I think it was a typo, but not my fault. We're going to say a little bit over $1 trillion to the U.S. economy in 2016, composing 5.6% of the country's entire GDP.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
Which is really fucking cool. I'm glad you're impressed.
That's a
Well,
big
because
number.
the U.S. basically doesn't have a social safety net, there is a lot more private charitable giving than there is in other societies that
Makes
have a
perfect
social
sense.
Safety net. Yeah, and because the U.S. is a lot more religious than some other societies, like Europe or whatever. Like, it's definitely skewed this
Yeah.
U.S. perspective.
Yeah. Of the nonprofit organizations registered with the IRS, 501c3 public charities accounted for just over 3/4 of revenue and expenses for the nonprofit sector as a whole. So the vast majority of types of nonprofits are 501c3s.
I wish that they separated out religious and non-religious.
Right.
I know.
That should be different numbers.
I know.
Ear itch.
501c suck it.
501c3.1. Too many
Trillion.
points. Too many
Decimals.
Too many parentheses. Okay, it also accounted for just under 2/3 of the nonprofit sector's total assets, which was about $3.79 trillion. There's so much fucking money. Essentially in just churches. Like
Right,
at this point,
right.
we're just talking about churches and religious organizations. In 2018, total private giving from individuals, foundations, and businesses totaled $427.7 billion. Billion. Which was actually a decrease of 1.7% from 2017 after adjusting for inflation. According to Giving USA in 2018, total charitable giving rose for consecutive years from 2014 to 2017, making 2017 the largest single year for private charitable giving, even after adjusting for inflation.
Wow.
I wonder if charitable giving to 501c3s decreases during presidential election years.
Oh, because then people are funneling
Giving
their...
more to political.
Maybe.
That would be
That
my
wouldn't surprise
assumption,
me at
but
all.
I don't know.
That would make sense. But it rose every year from 2014 to 2017, so it was still rising in 2016. And the last little fact for you, an estimated 25.1% of U.S. adults volunteered in 2017, contributing an estimated 8.8 billion hours.
Wow.
This is
That's amazing.
it's a 1.6% increase from 2016, and the value of these hours is approximately $195 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always a good option if you want to contribute to a nonprofit or quote unquote charitable organization and you're not 100% sure where those funds might be going. Volunteering your time to start could be a really good way to choose where you want to go.
It does depend, though, because sometimes, especially for smaller nonprofits, they don't have the staff to train or manage volunteers, which you might kind of poo-poo and think isn't that important, but like actually can be very important, or it can take a lot of time to, depending on the...
Sure, I'm just saying you can volunteer, you can contribute more than just financially when
Of
you're making
course.
those kinds of decisions.
It's, of course, I'm just saying that on the flip side, when you're working at a nonprofit, it can be really hard because a lot of times people will be like, well, I'll volunteer. And then you, don't know you don't have the resources to manage those folks and get them to the place where they're actually helping you instead of you're just helping them feel better about themselves. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
I feel like if somebody came up to, not that we are at all a nonprofit, but
No.
somebody came up to me and was like, I want to volunteer for Wine and Crime. And I'd be like, I don't have fucking time for you to help me.
We wouldn't even know what to have
Where
you
to begin.
do. Yeah.
Just
Right.
like the time and the labor to train somebody.
Or especially like depending on the type of social issue that nonprofit is working on, it can take a lot of training to get somebody like up to speed to be able to work even near clients, let alone directly with clients without, accidentally causing harm or, hurting the mission. So it's just sometimes it's easier said than done, or it takes more time at the beginning to like onboard somebody before they become useful. But if you want to volunteer your time and you're prepared to go through that process, then that is excellent.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my segment. I hope this enlightened you a little bit about 501c3s.
Yes, it did.
And all
go.
the other types.
And it taught me that I didn't misunderstand the assignment on this episode.
No,
On track
I am happy about
this time.
for once.
Are you guys ready to be pissed off?
I mean, yes.
that. Usually, yeah.
Okay. The Donald J. Trump Foundation
Thank
Oh,
God.
God.
was established in New York in 1988 by none other than Donald J. Trump himself.
Oh,
Jesus
do you hear that?
Christ.
That's the sound of 2 listeners who aren't going to listen to our show anymore.
Okay, bye. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it's our show. It's free to listen. It's free to not listen. Okay, so the stated purpose of the Trump Foundation was to collect the proceeds from sales of Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, and distribute them to charitable causes. The foundation was registered as a tax-exempt nonprofit, making donations to it tax deductible. Even from the original stated purpose of the foundation, though, its intent is obvious: to allow Trump to avoid personal income taxes by reclassifying income as tax-exempt donations.
Do we have his fucking returns yet?
We have very old returns, I think. Don't we have old returns?
I don't know.
I don't think I
he's-
can't remember.
I
he's
stopped
He did
paying
so much
attention.
shit that
I'm
I
gonna-
get
yeah.
bogged down in the amount of shit.
He's still fighting against releasing something along these lines. Like, dude, you just, I
Yep.
can't. I
Yeah,
just
the
wish he would just
foundation
go
stuff-
away.
The foundation stuff is pretty much all out there, and we will get to it. So the Trump Foundation did not start or maintain any charitable giving programs of its own, but it was designed to give money to other tax-exempt charitable organizations. And that is actually standard practice for a lot of private family foundations. They don't actually run any of the programming themselves. They don't even necessarily choose just like one cause they want to support. The family typically puts in a bunch of money to the foundation, and then that money trickles out to other existing nonprofits through grants.
Sure.
That's normal. Where things get shady, although completely unsurprising for the Trumps, is the details of how this organization was run and how the money was distributed or not. For starters, the Trump Foundation, so the nonprofit,
Right.
was based out of the offices of the Trump Organization, the for-profit business arm of the Trump empire.
So that already feels fishy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's already not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
But revealingly, it had no dedicated office space and no staff.
Oh. Okay.
So it's
Curious.
just a bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
And that wasn't the only red flag. The foundation's status as a, quote, charity was comical from the beginning. For example, in 1989, it reported a $7 charitable contribution to the Boy Scouts of America.
$7?
$7.
7.0?
7.
Yes.
$7.
You got that.
Jesus Christ.
You got it right.
And as it turns out, this wasn't even a donation. It was the registration fee for then 11-year-old Donald Trump Jr. to join the Boy Scouts.
Not a donation.
Not a donation. It's a registration fee. And also, why is the foundation paying for your son to join the Scouts? That is how fucking cheap and corrupt this man is.
Yikes.
He took $7 out of a
So
charity
fucking
to
petty.
pay for his son's Boy Scout fee.
Not that any of this is related, but maybe that's why the contribution to the synagogue was not tax deductible.
'Cause it's a
Maybe it's like
fee?
a registration fee.
Yeah, it
Maybe
could
that's
be.
how they're classifying it.
Right. But
And maybe that's
seems
how
like
your
a-
tax robot
it
saw
would-
it. But if you had a tax person who could be like, I'm overriding this
Right.
or whatever, I don't know.
I don't
Because
know.
there's
Maybe?
no reason behind that, because
No.
it being tax exempt would benefit Kenyon and the synagogue.
Of
so
course,
it's just
of
like,
course.
it was just miscategorized somehow.
I'll
Just a
live.
thought, maybe.
Yeah, it's possible.
Mhm.
But paying for your son's
No. It's not,
Boy
like I'm
Scouts.
saying, they are
Yeah.
not the same. It
Yeah.
just made me think, oh,
Yeah.
maybe that's the
'cause
tax
it's right
thing.
So this ridiculous early donation was an indicator of how the foundation would function for years as a personal slush fund for Donald Trump, which he treated as if it was interchangeable with any of the other funds that he had access to.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lucy said, just another bank account.
He's so arrogant.
In fact, for decades, Donald Trump himself was the sole person dictating how the foundation's money would be spent. For context, most foundations have an elected board of directors who have
Yes.
procedures and rules
Oversight.
and
Yeah.
ways of determining how money should be raised and how it should be spent.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, not just one dude.
Jesus Christ.
Eventually, his 3 adult children, Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka, would be listed. We always forget Tiffany. I love
My adult son.
would
Yeah,
be listed.
where's Tiffany. So sad.
She's fine.
She's fine. She's complicit. Would be listed as the board of directors of the Trump Foundation, along with the Trump organizations, the business wings, now disgraced CFO Alan Weisselberg, who just
Oh.
reported a bunch of shit on Trump.
Yeah,
And
he
bas-
fucking flipped.
He fucking flipped, and it's amazing. And Alan Weisselberg, one of the things that he got caught doing was similar to how the fucking Trump Foundation was doing things.
Right.
Which is, instead of having things in his compensation package count as income, he was just having them count as like business expenses.
Sure.
So instead of, like, say his apartment cost $1 million a year, instead of being paid $1 million a year so then he could pay his mortgage, he had the company pay his
it
mortgage.
and then like write it off as a business expense.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which
But he did that with,
can
like,
we
his.
just do that?
Wouldn't that be great?
Please.
Yeah, I didn't know that was an option.
Right. He did
Funny
that
how
with
our CPA never said we could do
his.
that.
Yeah. Right.
Funny how
Kenyon's
we haven't been
mom.
audited or sued for like tax misuse of company
Yeah.
funds.
Be great. He did that for, like, his grandkids' school fees. I don't know why your grandchildren's school tuition is a business expense.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were wealthy? Then we wouldn't have to pay so much. Never
Would be
ever have
nice.
to pay our taxes.
Yeah. All right. So Alan Weisselberg and the 3 adult kids are on the board of directors, supposedly,
Amazing.
of this foundation that has no office space and no staff.
Great.
And until his presidential run brought heightened scrutiny to his finances, the Trump Foundation continued to operate as an arm of the Trump Organization, the business, with seemingly very little outside scrutiny. It continued.
Nobody just mentioned it.
Nobody looked at it, thought about it, mentioned it, just kept plugging along. From 1988 until 2016.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
It continued to collect royalties from Trump's ghostwritten bestseller, The Art of the Deal. But it also ghostwritten. Ow, that hurt. That's why I don't do that, because that hurts. But it also solicited donations from outside donors, mostly people that had some connection or business interests with the Trump business. Between its founding and 2015, Trump's earnings contributed $5.5 million to the charity. So, like, technically, Trump put in $5.5 million into the foundation fund.
The foundation that was already a scam built to get him huge tax write-offs and like misappropriate money.
Well, then he didn't have to pay taxes on that
Right.
$5.5 million.
Exactly.
Right. While donations from third parties contributed nearly twice that sum, approximately $9.3 million. And according to philanthropy experts, that's really unusual to have a private family foundation getting more money from outside donors than is being put in itself. Like, the point of a family foundation is that it's a high net worth family and they want to do good, so they're taking some of their own money and they are doing good with it.
Yeah, setting it
They're
aside
not
for social causes.
It also kind of
soliciting more and more donations from the outside and then sitting on it.
Right.
It's also not clear. Probably because this plan didn't exist. But like, what charities it's actually donating to? So why the fuck would any random citizen be like, I'm going to donate to the Trump Foundation?
To
Right.
curry
I
favor.
don't really know where any of this money is actually going.
It wasn't random citizens before he became like a presidential candidate. It wasn't
That's
just
what I'm
random
saying.
people. Yeah,
It wasn't random people because,
No.
and that figure, 9.3 million, is a little fishy.
It was people trying to curry favor with Donald Trump. Some of those people, are probably just, rich fucking yahoos that thought that they were doing good.
Right.
And were lazy about it and wanted to go to some party at Mar-a-Lago that happened to be a fundraiser. You know what I mean?
I could see it.
Which is fine, whatever. But once he became a presidential candidate, trying to curry favor is more problematic. So the amount of money from outsiders becomes even more suspicious when you look into who these people actually were that were giving this, totaled $9.3 million. So between the years 2004 and 2014, the top donors to the Trump Foundation were either Vince and Linda McMahon of World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE.
He is a trip.
Yeah, and we've talked about how he's literal garbage.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, he's garbage.
Or WWE itself. And there's some dispute about this because the Trump Foundation listed the donations as being from WWE, but then WWE denied involvement and claimed that the money had come from Vince and Linda McMahon personally. And that is because the Trump Foundation had no fucking staff, so they're just cobbling together their records and being like, oh, where did them? Oh, yeah, I think WWE. And it fucking matters if it came from the company or if it came
the
from
individual.
the people.
Yeah.
They're very different things.
Yeah. So these donations to the Trump Foundation coincide with Trump's participation in WrestleMania in 2007 and 2009.
Weird. That's such a weird coincidence.
Making them seemingly not so much charitable donations as appearance fees.
Oh, my Lord.
Which should be categorized as income. So is he hiding appearance fees behind the organization so he doesn't have to pay income tax?
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay.
Exactly what
Yep.
he's doing.
All right. Well, I know things.
Don't you feel smart?
Nailed it. I know our ex-president is a criminal.
And this fits a pattern for Trump of asking for donations instead of payment for services. In 2005, the Norwegian Cruise Lines, we've got fucking WWE, we got fucking cruises. He is just, it's just disgusting bingo.
Both douchey, honestly.
Seriously.
So Norwegian Cruise Line donated $100,000 in lieu of an appearance fee for Melania Trump.
Ugh.
How was she pulling in $100,000 for an appearance fee in 2005?
Yeah, she wasn't even the first lady.
Not know.
I guess, what's it called? The show that he had.
Oh, The Apprentice,
Yeah.
maybe?
Was she on that show?
I have no idea.
No,
I never
don't
watched
know.
it.
I never watched it. I don't know. In 2006, People magazine gave $150,000 to the Trump Foundation after receiving the exclusive rights to publish photos of baby Barron.
Ugh.
God.
And in 2011,
Barron bears it all.
I'm not making fun of his
headlines write
child.
themselves. I am.
Not making fun of his child.
I am.
What? Where would your head have to be to name a child that just came out of your own uterus Barron?
Well, Robber was a little bit too on the nose, so they went with Barron instead.
No, I
Do you
think
guys
it's funny,
not remember-
like a barren womb.
Right.
She wishes she was barren.
Do you guys not remember that Trump's alter ego when he talked to the press was Barron something?
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
And
I
then
do
he named his
remember
son
that.
Barron.
Wow.
He like had a fake person. He would like catfish members of the media and be like, I don't know. I just think this Trump guy is incredible, and he's a billionaire, and he's really great, and he's just unbelievable.
I hear
And-
his hands are enormous and even bigger than his penis, his painting.
My
Like,
name is
it's-
Barron.
Von Trapp.
Baron von Trapp.
He doesn't even cover his It's one thing that he does these things,
Mhm.
but just to have the audacity to not even fucking bother to cover your tracks
Doesn't
about
even.
it.
Well, I don't even know if it's audacity. It's like
It's-
overconfidence and
Mhm.
confirmation bias because he's just gotten away with this bullshit for so long. So of
Whatever
course
you
he's
want to
gonna do
call
that.
it, it's
But
a
yeah,
bunch of horse shit.
it is a
Mhm.
bunch of horseshit.
The
I agree.
balls.
Right.
Yeah. The balls.
And in 2011, Comedy Central donated $400,000 after Trump appeared at a televised roast of himself. So this may all sound altruistic. No, don't pay me. Just donate to my charity. Aren't I a generous guy? But like we said, in reality, Trump and his family were able to collect tax-free money that would have otherwise been considered taxable income while still having that money in a slush fund that they could use on almost whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It wasn't until Trump was running for president in 2016 that further digging was done into the activities of the foundation and the full extent of its corruption became public knowledge. In 2016, a reporter for the Washington Post named David Farenthold began looking into the Trump Foundation and Trump's repeated claims that he had a long history of charitable giving.
Okay.
One of the biggest bombshells of Farenthold's reporting, which he would eventually win a Pulitzer Prize for, and you have got to listen to the podcast Trump Inc.
Okay.
It's so good. It's not by him, but they talk about a lot of his reporting in depth, and it's just so good. So Trump, he looked into basically this January 2016 fundraiser that Trump held for, quote, veterans causes,
Okay. Yeah.
which is very vague.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like vitamins are people, and they have a lot of different, like, healthcare, mental
Right.
health. Like, what do you?
Just the causes. Just all of them.
All the causes.
You know, causes.
You know,
A chemistry
causes.
occurs. A
Yeah.
cause occurs.
A cause occurs.
So Trump publicly made a big deal at the time about the fact that he was skipping a televised Republican debate, many said because he was too scared to debate, in favor of this fundraiser that he would later boast had raised $6 million, including $1 million that he claimed to have personally donated. The money supposedly went into the Trump Foundation in order to then be doled out to various veterans' causes. But when Farenthold attempted to verify these claims, he found that even several months after the event, the Trump Foundation had yet to disperse a single penny to any cause, let alone any veterans-related charities.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So who knows if they raised $6 million? Who knows if he put in $1 million? He didn't.
Right.
there's no way to know.
There's no way to know. And they didn't, none of it went there until a spotlight was shown on it. And then they were like, oh shit, well, I guess we better pay out.
Right.
Did they pay $6 million out?
I don't know. We'll get to it. So, as a result of Farenthold's scoop, the New York Attorney General's office began investigating the fundraiser and the Trump Foundation in general. The Attorney General's investigation into the event had a slightly different focus, though. They were less concerned about whether the money for that particular event had been dispersed yet, and they were more interested in whether the event should have even been allowed to take place at all. It shouldn't.
Right. Spoiler alert.
Because New York law prohibits charities from supporting political candidates or campaigns, and Trump made a huge deal that he is doing this event instead of the debate,
Yep.
and he made it a political thing,
Yep.
and it shouldn't have happened during a campaign. So it was clear that the event had been a massive conflict of interest because Trump had literally handed the reins of his foundation that still has no staff to his political campaign staff. To be like, political campaign staff, put on this event that supposedly my foundation is hosting. Because
He doesn't know the difference.
Staff.
He does not know the difference
No,
between any of this stuff.
no. But that's not an excuse. He's run a
No, of
course
he's
not.
run a
Not
foundation
at all.
since 1988.
He's a fucking idiot.
Yep. So New York State determined that Trump had, in fact, violated the conflict of interest law. As a result of this investigation, New York's Attorney General filed a lawsuit against Trump, his 3 eldest children, and the foundation, alleging a wide array of mismanagement of charitable funds. In a deposition related to the lawsuit, the Trump Organization's CFO, Alan Weisselberg, Weisselberg, who was supposedly on the foundation's board of directors, admitted that he had no idea that he had been officially listed as a board member for the past 10 or 15 years.
Okay.
They were like, okay, well, Alan Weisselberg, you're on the board, so like you
And he
should
was
fucking
like,
know better.
"What?"
You're a CFO.
Right.
And he was like, I had no idea I was a board member.
Oh my
That
word.
must
Because
have
the
been
board
some-
doesn't exist.
Right.
Some oversight. The decisions being made in that office that
Can
he
you
wasn't
believe?
aware he should have been in for 15 years.
And although it would have been beneficial for Weisselberg to distance himself from the foundation because it got in hot water, this claim is actually very believable, as the Trump Foundation had not held a single board meeting since 1999.
I'm shocked they held one ever.
Well, it was probably when they put the 3 adult kids on the board.
Oh.
You know, it was like, okay, you guys are on the board now. And then they just never met again,
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
which is maybe the only thing worse than us with our quarterly meetings that we have once a year.
Whatever.
We're bad business bitches.
And we pay
We had a
our
good one a
taxes.
couple weeks ago.
We did have a good one. And we're due for one next year.
Once a year, we have our quarterly meeting.
Gets us off our own backs for the next 11 months.
We're working on scheduling.
We are. We are.
Are we the Trump Foundation?
Oh my God. You're both on the board.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
shit. Since when?
No.
So is Derek.
Well, there you go.
He never fucking shows up.
He's board vice
Shitty
president.
employee.
He's the Alan Weisselberg.
He's Alan Weisselberg.
He is our scapegoat.
Yeah. So as laid out in the lawsuit in New York State, rather than operating in any official capacity as a nonprofit, it had simply been used as a source of untaxed and largely donated money for Trump, probably with the help of his children, to do whatever he wanted with. And oh boy,
Did
some of the
he.
shit that he chose to spend that money on
Boy, howdy.
was bananas. Sloppy bananas.
That's a lot of bananas.
Sloppy bananas. How much could a banana possibly cost these days?
$10.
$10.
9.3 million. So there are honestly too many instances of flagrant misuse of the foundation's money to like get into all of them. And again, go to Trump Inc. But here are just a few little tastes, just like a few little examples. In 2007, the Trump Foundation paid $100,000 to a Florida-based charity called the Fisher House Foundation as part of an agreement to settle a lawsuit between Mar-a-Lago and the town of Palm Beach for violating building regulations.
Got it. Great.
The foundation is just paying for Mar-a-Lago's lawsuit
Legal
settlement.
bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a payoff. It was a bribe.
Cool.
It wasn't a bribe. It was settling a lawsuit.
Right.
That
Well,
that
yes,
he didn't
you're
want
right.
the
It wasn't
company to have
a-
to pay for.
Right.
It was a payoff.
Settling lawsuits on behalf of one's own company does not charitable giving make.
No.
It's like if you got in like a car accident that was your fault and you had to like pay for repairs and then
Right.
you tried to write that off on your taxes.
Right.
It's like that's not but that's just money that you owed.
Yeah.
Right. It's that times 100.
Right. 1,000. In 2012, the Trump Foundation paid $158,000 to a charity run by a golfer named Martin B. Greenberg. Greenberg had recently won a hole-in-one contest at Trump's Bedminster Golf Club, and after making the donation to Greenberg's charity, Trump refused to pay the golfer the advertised $1 million prize money for winning the contest.
You don't say.
So he was like, I don't want to pay him $1 million, which I said I would pay to
Right.
the winner of this contest that was fucking marketing for
Right.
my golf club. So I'm just going to pay him $158,000 instead of $1 million.
Sure.
That's the same.
Yeah.
So Greenberg sued. And again, in order to settle that lawsuit, Trump organized a charity auction for lifetime membership at his golf club.
Got it.
So he didn't want to pay for the settlement when he was sued for not paying someone money that he owed him.
Uh-huh.
So he organized a fake charity event to raise money from strangers
Yep.
to pay, again, his legal bills.
Yeah. No, you know what? It makes sense to me.
Uh-huh.
And the prize, the membership was also just goes to feed his own ego.
And it's a free thing for him to give out. He
Yeah.
doesn't lose anything.
Right. This man just doubles down whenever possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In 2013, the Trump Foundation donated $25,000 to a political organization named And Justice for All, whose main purpose was to fund the re-election campaign of Pam, I don't know if it's Bondi or Bondi, but I think it's Bondi.
James
Bondi.
Bondi.
I think it's Bondi, and then it's Bondi Beach in Australia. Okay. Pam Bondi, the Republican Attorney General of Florida, she just looks like a Fox News host, basically.
Blonde, big hair.
Just blonde, hot pink, Trump, rah, 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 who would go on to eventually endorse Trump for president.
Weird.
So the Trump charity paid $25,000 to a political organization. But when the Trump Foundation reported this donation on a 2013 tax return, it was incorrectly listed as going to a Kansas-based pro-life nonprofit called Justice for All, so that they
Because
wouldn't
then he wouldn't be taxed for it.
so that it wouldn't be caught as the foundation making a political donation.
Right.
So they were just
yeah.
just drop the and.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
it's like it went to this abortion group and not
And if they got caught, it was an innocent mistake.
Right. We just mixed it up.
That's too bad that
because we have no
that's too
staff.
bad.
So ironically, some of the most absurd uses of Trump Foundation money actually seem to be the instances in which he actually did give some money to actual charities, albeit in unbelievably sleazy ways.
SaveTheNipples.com.
$7.
Yeah. To the Viagra Foundation.
Amazing.
So these include 3 separate instances of Trump using the foundation's money to purchase enormous portraits of himself.
Yes. Yes, he did.
I thought it was just once. It was thrice, you guys. And they're
Wow.
huge portraits.
Amazing.
Is this I found a photo on the drive.
There's a photo on the drive. There's also a photo on the drive of Pam Bondi.
Oh, he's even orange in the portrait.
Yeah.
Look how red his face is compared to
Yeah.
his hand.
It's not great. It's not great.
So in 2007, the foundation spent $20,000 to purchase a 6-foot-tall, so essentially a life-size portrait of Trump that was being sold at a benefit held at Mar-a-Lago for a Florida charity called Children's Place at Home Space.
I'm going to say it. That's too tall.
That's too tall.
Okay,
Not
well,
for
if
a man.
if
like
you
a
think-
human.
For
you
a
think
portrait.
that's too tall for a portrait, in 2019, Trump persuaded a pharmaceutical industry billionaire named Stuart Rahr to make sure he was the highest bidder on a 9-foot-tall portrait of Donald
Now we're talking.
That's
that
way
was
too
being
tall.
sold at a
Way
charity
too
auction,
tall.
with the understanding that this billionaire would later be reimbursed with Trump Foundation money. So he went to his buddy and was like, hey, can you make sure that you're the highest bidder on this portrait of me?
It's like that scene in Uncut Gems.
Yeah, this absurdly high portrait of me. And this billionaire was like, sure, okay.
I got you.
I'll be the highest bidder. I'm going to get paid back, right? And Trump's like, yeah, I'm going to pay for it out of my slush fund. That's supposed to be a charity. Rahr paid $60,000 for the painting. And after the sale, Trump tweeted, he's president when this happened, okay? He tweeted, just found out that a charity auction of celebrity portraits in East Hampton, my portrait by artist William Quigley, topped the list at $60,000.
It's like, yeah, 'cause you.
He bragged about how expensive his own portrait went for when he rigged the auction.
Oh
Oh
my God.
He
I'm going to go ahead and guess that Rahr never got paid back.
Oh, probably not.
He and Giuliani are both waiting on those invoices to be paid.
All right.
Net 60 days.
And there's another fucking portrait. So in 2014,
So
at a
many
ch-
portraits.
so many portraits at a
I only
charity.
have one portrait of myself.
It's behind me on this wall.
Yeah, I only have one as well.
Yeah.
Well, we also have the cartoon poster of ourselves.
I guess
Both
I
for
only
for
have-
free.
one section, I have a few portraits.
I
of
only have
myself
4 portraits of myself in this room.
in this room.
5.
5.
Oh shit! We are the.
But none of them are 6 feet tall.
That's true.
That's true.
Or
They're all
9.
tasteful size.
They're all tasteful.
well, they're a tasteful size.
Please, when we are able to do live shows again, please, please, please do not show up with a 9-foot-tall portrait of us.
We cannot take it on the plane.
We cannot take it on the plane.
Please, please, please ship it directly to my house and my addresses.
All right, last portrait. In 2014, at a charity event for the Unicorn Children's Foundation held at Mar-a-Lago, Trump purchased a 4-foot-tall portrait of himself using
Tasteful.
$20,000 of Trump Foundation funds. So he's just buying all these portraits of himself, but never using his own money. Always
Well,
using
yeah.
money that should be going to charity.
Because he's a smart businessman.
Or another person's money entirely.
Right.
Right, yeah. So in the months leading up to the New York State lawsuit, Trump, seeing the writing on the wall, announced that he would voluntarily dissolve the Trump Foundation to avoid even the appearance of any conflict with my role as president.
I mean, he's still not in jail, so maybe he is a genius.
He's a very stable genius.
Maybe.
I can't go there. So my reflux. Oh, no, wait, I'm just throwing up.
It gave me heartburn to even say it, but...
But the New York State Attorney General's office blocked this move, stating that the foundation, quote, cannot legally dissolve until an investigation into its misdeeds was complete. So if you get caught, you can't just dissolve and expect that to go away. You still did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I declare bankruptcy. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So the foundation was accused by then New York Attorney General Barbara Underwood of, quote, functioning as little more than a checkbook to serve Mr. Trump's business and political interests. Or, as one particularly damning headline put it, quote, how Donald Trump shifted kids' cancer charity money into his business.
My God.
So bad.
In a 2018 settlement agreement, Trump admitted to giving his political campaign staff complete control of how the foundation's funds from that veterans fundraiser were distributed. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. He also admitted to using the foundation's money to settle legal disputes related to his private properties, which we talked about, Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster. He agreed to liquidate the remaining $1.8 million that was left in the foundation's funds and distribute it to various charities, including Meals on Wheels, the Children's Aid Society, and the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. And these organizations, fortunately, have no ties to the Trump family or any of its businesses. So I think the New York State vetted the list of charities that they wanted to give the $1.8 million to.
And that he actually donated that money?
I'm assuming that they required proof that it was donated. In November of 2019, New York State Supreme Court Justice Sallyanne Scarpella ruled that Trump must pay an additional $2 million in damages to the charities named in the 2018 settlement, because you can't just screw over a bunch of charities and never pay them.
Wait.
When
you can't do that.
You can't. Unless you're president.
Well,
then you can do anything.
Shit.
Yeah.
So now he has to pay $2 million in damages. Again, that $2 million in damages, not tax deductible.
Mm-hmm.
That's like paying for a lawsuit. That's money you owe.
Mm-hmm.
That's not out of the kindness of your heart.
No.
Okay? So as a result of this final ruling in the case, the Trump Foundation will no longer exist and does not exist. According to one source, Scarpella also issued stiff requirements for Trump's adult children to meet before they are allowed to create or oversee any nonprofit in the future.
Good.
Because they can't be trusted.
Yeah. Shut that shit down.
For real.
However, another source claims that Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka were simply ordered to undergo mandatory training on the proper running of a nonprofit, which they already completed, like some sort of, like alcohol EDU bullshit.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the slap of the wrist on the wrist crap that they ended up doing.
So in the words of New Yorker writer John Cassidy, quote, the operation of the Trump Foundation reflected the character of the man it was named after. It was disorganized, cavalier with the truth, lacking in substance, and dedicated primarily to the interests of Donald J. Trump. Mm-hmm. And I would argue also has horrible taste in portraiture.
Yes, very bad. Too big.
Too red.
Too orange, too big.
Hands are
Too
too pale.
fast, too furious.
Yeah. Look, if you want to buy a 9-foot tall portrait of yourself,
honey,
fine.
go for it. Go
Go for it.
Amanda has 5.
I have
But
5 in miniature surrounding me right now.
But you gotta just pay for it out of your own money if you're so rich.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Claim
But
to
you
be
keep
so
telling
rich.
everybody.
Anyway,
Wow.
so that's my rant. I feel like it's up there
Wow.
with my Ted Bundy rant.
It's up there.
I liked
for
it.
sure. Stunning. Beautifully done.
Yeah.
I
Well
hate
done.
that fucking guy
Yeah, I am so much.
so much.
Can't even
He's-
listen to his voice.
The
Now
worst person in the world.
in the world. Are we ready for my case?
Sure.
Oh my God. Okay, so this story is wild for how long this went on just unchecked, and the sheer volume of cash that was literally stolen from both God-fearing individuals thinking they were tapping into divine wealth as well as some rich assholes who knew exactly what the fuck they were doing.
Is this the one that you have personal experience with?
It's inspired by that.
Okay.
Okay. I was just going to ask the same thing. Did you get your talisman?
No. But I am still getting letters and sending porn, which we'll get to. So today I'm going to regale you with the fraudulent bullshit that is Greater Ministries International.
Uh-oh.
And no, this is not the organization I am ordained through. Universal Life Church for the win. So, like you mentioned, like I said, remember a while back, I told you all the story about sending porn to a fake church. This story is like the OG of those schemes.
Oh.
That when you say it like that, you kind of sound like the bad guy. You were replying to a scam.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was
Attempt.
a scam.
I have this written in here. So to refresh everybody's memory, I kept and keep getting mail sent to my home that is clearly meant for like an elderly woman who lived here a long time before me. And finally, after receiving a lot of this junk mail, I got curious enough to open one, and it was this like rambling lunacy about secret biblical texts that brought profound wealth to believers who read them. And if you sent a money order or a check for $25 to this quote unquote church, they would provide these texts to you as well as additional freebies like amulets and wallet cards that would attract thousands of dollars immediately.
The amulets,
The
not
amulets.
the talisman.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna print my own amulet.
You
and
should.
Put it.
And I
Put it
also
in
want to
my
point
wallet.
out that checks are insane. We just send a piece of paper places with our full name, address, routing, and checking account number on them. Just a piece of paper.
I have my checkbook right here. I like writing checks.
Who the fuck came up with checks? This is not safe.
The only thing worse than checks are traveler's checks, which my mom insisted on me using when I traveled my first year after college graduation. And the only place that I could go, there was like one place in the whole city that I could go and exchange these traveler's checks for money. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Never again.
This is
When-
stupid.
When we were backpacking in Europe, we ran out of money, and my mom had to send us a money order.
That's right.
I was like, we just need like $100. It'll get us through the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, pretty
It's
much.
fine.
And it did.
And
And
it
it
did.
did.
So now every time I get one of these letters, I use the pre-addressed envelope to send back meticulously exacto-knifed pornography, courtesy of my friend over at the Nat 30s, which is a tabletop RPG show, and it's really good. Along with a handwritten note that reads, "Stop scamming old people, you fucks." And this scam has been around for a long, long time, and scams of its kind, not like this one in particular, but the floodgates of this kind of quote unquote church were kind of opened in the 1980s by a man named Gerald Payne, who founded
Major
Greater
Payne.
Ministries, Major Payne, who founded Greater Ministries International in Tampa, Florida, of fucking course.
Of course.
Yeah. He was a professional contractor who realized that he could manipulate the government and evade taxes by becoming a man of the cloth and starting his own church. And thus, GMI was born. Quote, but Payne, who spent some time in prison in 1979 for lying to a grand jury, discovered that the material rewards of preaching did not match the spiritual uplift. With his typical energy, he attempted to remedy the imbalance. With James Mayer, formerly on probation for running a pyramid scheme, so he brought this guy in as his partner, he incorporated a financial planning firm in the 1990s that offered a gold coin investment program.
Oh my God.
I remember the gold.
The gold coin.
Shortly
Yes.
thereafter, with the help of Haywood Dawn Hall, Payne created a religiously couched investment plan that would ostensibly double the, quote, blessings that people invested. Gerald and his team roped in religious leaders around the country to get in on this cash cow. One of them preaching in an Indianapolis Baptist temple, Brother Patrick Henry Talbert, who was recorded in 1997, like on video camera, selling this investment guarantee to his congregation. Quote,
Oh.
God says give and it shall be given, Talbert said. You give a gift, we basically take it offshore, and we've been doing this for 9 years. Nobody's ever lost a dime. And
What
we
a bad choice of words.
Nobody's ever lost a dime.
We'll get to it. and we multiply it back through the body of Christ.
You can get as many wafer thin crackers as you want for that investment.
Well,
we
you
launder our money through Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Offshore.
Yep. He continues to say, we don't promise you nothing. We just say nobody's lost a dime in 9 years, and we double everything. The Bible tells us about the end times transfer of wealth. God teaches all through the scriptures that in the last days, he's going to take all those people that stole from you, the heathen, and give it back to the righteous. We've given out over $500 million. It's not our money, it's God's money, but we know how to make it.
It used to be your money.
We know how to make it, Reed, take it, and we know how to give it out. So people give gifts to our ministry and we give it back to them double. It's like Christmas Day every day at our ministry.
I love how your Southern accent just evolved through that
Had
quote.
to.
I know.
Had to. Also, note this fuckwit is a known white supremacist and subscribes to my absolute favorite sovereign citizen ideology.
We've got to do sovereign citizen crimes.
We have to. It's been coming up too much recently.
It's a sign. It's a sign from God.
It
Yep.
is a sign from God, and he giveth and he taketh away.
But he mostly giveth, apparently.
And he soweth, you soweth, and we reapeth.
He reapeth, you soweth.
Rapeth.
Quote, their flagship program, the Double Your Money Gift Exchange, subtle, promised to double contributions thanks to GMI's non-existent investments in precious metals, which we'll get to. GMI marketed the program to ultra-conservative political and religious groups, as well as to other communities outside the mainstream that they could exploit, especially the Amish and Mennonite sects.
Oh, no.
The program, stated Payne, was based on Luke 6:38. Give and it shall be given unto you. Claiming to accept money only from active Christians, Payne said that God had modernized the multiplication of the loaves and fishes and asked him to share the secret. End
This
quote.
is painful.
It's Gerald painful.
Yeah.
They went hard for money from their congregation, going so far as to encourage people to cash in their IRAs,
Oh, no.
empty their often lifelong savings account, take out cash advances on paychecks, max out their credit cards, and basically tank themselves financially on the promise that their riches would be doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled.
By God.
By
just-
God's divine
by like
investing.
God's divine thing, and also offshore something, and also maybe precious metals.
Maybe, but not.
When do the colorful print leggings come in?
Seriously.
Actually.
It's a pyramid scheme. We should do
There's a-
MLM crimes. Again.
There's a new documentary coming out about that.
I saw that email. I'm so fucking excited about
Gonna
it.
be good. So this went on for years as targeted individuals filed complaints that they, surprise, never saw returns on their investments.
Well, they just haven't waited long enough.
Right. God,
You gotta pray harder.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
No, I mean, God will get to it. Members of these congregations gave thousands of dollars, with the highest single contribution of over $2 million.
Oh,
Seminars
no.
for this, quote, divine investment opportunity sold out hundreds of seats, raising upwards of $500,000 per seminar. All while Gerald continued to claim that the church returned millions to its congregation as well as to the community. $500 million to be exact, he claimed. The church boasted of its charitable giving.
He's making money from donations, and they're making money from these fucking seminars.
Yes, and it's not really, they're donations, but they're not donations because they're like investments.
Oh, right, they're investments.
So
Well, the
it's-
people think that they're investments,
right.
but
It's a
just,
scam.
It's just donations.
Right. So the church boasted of its charitable giving and programs to help their communities, including assistance for the housing insecure, individuals struggling with substance use disorder, and work programs, on top of the millions in returns to members of the church who were willing to trust them with their money. And there were enough initial investors being paid back with the money from new investors.
Yeah,
that
it's called pyramid scheme.
We'll get to it. So it looked to be legit, and those happy investors told everyone they could about their success, which is exactly what a fucking pyramid scheme is. That is a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, if you can get in early.
You're going to get a return, but it crumbles. But when enough complaints finally piled up, GMI was served with an order to cease and desist operations, but not like federally. It was like in Pennsylvania. But instead, Gerald started a program called Faith Promises and continued to solicit money successfully, even after being banned from the state of Pennsylvania, where they had already amassed wealth from over 4,000 investors. So
Holy shit.
Pennsylvania has a huge Amish community.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of elderly people who retire there because like state income tax is extremely low. It's like a very religious state overall. And so it
Very
really
beautiful
makes
countryside.
fucking stunning. I love Pennsylvania. But it really is like a perfect target for something like this. It's like old religious retirees. Here you go.
Shooting fish in a barrel.
Exactly. So they removed from their like rhetoric any promises about increasing investments for their congregation and then started operating as Faith Promises and not GMI anymore. They removed, like I said, they removed those. And then a federal investigation had been launched, but like these changes allowed them to skirt state oversight, and the federal investigation was going so slowly. It had been like going on for, at this point, about a year, I'd say, but like nothing had come of it. So the GMI team just like kept moving forward and bit back against any press that tried to out them for their bullshit, which many articles were written being like, this guy is nuts and stealing from you.
Yeah.
And so he and his team and his legal team filed a $10 billion lawsuit against 3 different newspapers that had called them out, claiming that they were leading, quote, a conspiracy against Christianity.
Well, someone has to. My
Someone
God.
has to.
Against Christianity writ large.
Yeah. But surprise, the lawsuit was later dropped for being bullshit.
But still, it's such a fucking annoyance and waste of time and money for these newspapers.
Oh, yeah. And it
$10
is an
billion.
intimidation tactic to just get people to shut the fuck up about the scam that they're pulling. So in 1997, they started to really diversify those assets. They purchased the largest hotel and convention center in Western Kentucky and started an herbal research center at their headquarters in Florida, led by suspended disgraced doctor Joel Arcilla, who got burned in Pennsylvania for practicing medicine without malpractice insurance, which is a big no-no.
Where in Western Kentucky this largest hotel and convention center is?
I
I'm Googling
don't,
it.
but I bet if you Google largest hotel and convention center in Western Kentucky, you'll probably find it. I see you copying and pasting that line. You go, girl. So then Gerald expanded overseas with a new partner, a man named Nico Schaefer, who lived offshore, who lived in South Africa and knew the ins and outs of the game after spending 6 years in prison for bank fraud. So that's how Gerald was like, that's my guy.
You have to be really egregious to get caught for fraud in South Africa.
I don't know if he spent time in prison for bank fraud in the U.S. and then moved to South Africa, or if that happened in South Africa. I'm not sure. But at the time that they struck up a partnership, he was living in South Africa, and it was kind of his job being over there to manage the pouring of millions of dollars into accounts in Liberia to secure mining rights at their valuable gold and diamond mines. So literally exploiting their war-torn area and like funding the plot of Blood Diamond.
Well, at least now we know where the amulets come from.
Well, despite never once digging up a single precious metal, they were just hiding money.
Oh, Lord.
So we still don't know where the amulets come from because they didn't touch any of the gold, diamonds, or silver that they had the rights to mine. They didn't touch any of it.
So they were just hiding money by buying these mining rights.
And laundering it, most likely, through these existing mines.
I guess
and
that's the
companies.
one silver lining, is that they weren't actually exploiting miners.
Well, there was no silver.
I mean, there's no. I wouldn't say
dirt lining.
I wouldn't say they weren't exploiting anyone. I just don't know the exact ways that they were in that area. But yeah. So their number one proselytizer, Grand Wizard fucking Talbert, was nabbed in November of 1997 for racketeering and fraud for his involvement in a different pyramid scheme unrelated to the, quote, church. And this was the beginning of the end for GMI. Quote, Talbert waged a sovereign citizen battle in the courts for months, refusing to recognize their jurisdiction over him and alleging that state officials owed him $1 million for economic loss and deprivation of liberty. He was eventually convicted and sentenced to a 10-year prison term. LOL. Sucks to suck. Another GMI employee, Jonathan Straughter, was brought in on charges for a pyramid scheme that he built in the exact image of GMI, and the scheme of his, so it was like a copycat scheme, brought in over $14 million. So
we're in the wrong business, you guys.
I know, but they're all getting caught.
I want to defraud people of $14 million.
Honestly,
I have lots of items and things that I want to buy.
we could probably defraud fucking Jeffrey Bezos of that without him even noticing.
Right?
I just have to
Be
start
like,
a
wow,
church.
gas for my yacht was really expensive this month.
I know.
For my space dick.
If you want to have a successful vanity space launch, then you need this amulet.
As part of a deal with authorities, this Jonathan guy agreed to give them information and help take down Gerald and GMI. So I don't think he really saw, I think he paid some fines for this pyramid scheme, but he was valuable enough that I don't think he ever saw jail time for the 14 million that like he embezzled from people, basically.
And people just never get their money back.
They don't. They don't.
No.
So they had already been shut down in Pennsylvania and were now told to cease operations in Florida during the federal investigation that was still ongoing. But they defied these orders by holding meetings and conducting business in both states anyway, citing their, quote, religious convictions prohibited them from obeying any law not written by Jesus Christ.
Jesus
Jesus
Christ
didn't
write anything. God.
Just end me now. I can't. I literally wrote this
They don't
in
even
my
know
notes.
what the Bible says.
I know.
They're so bad at this.
Well, they're not. They just aren't actually Christians and they don't actually care about Christianity. They're just spouting this bullshit to try to get out of accountability for their
should have
theft.
fact-checked their statements.
I mean,
Also, like, God.
this is like, this is like
We
the kind of,
could get away with
this is like the kind of
is
crew
what I'm saying.
are the kind of folks who are fans of Gerald Payne and supporters of Gerald Payne and profiting from Gerald Payne. You could replace Gerald Payne with Donald Trump and it's like the same shit. It's just the same festering cesspool of
the
people.
balls.
The balls.
On these guys.
Yeah. So switching it
The
up
amulets.
once again, the amulets. In
Amulets
1998,
on that man.
the church launched their, quote, Greater Lands program that promised
God.
a single square foot parcel of land to donors in an undisclosed sovereign country.
Okay, they literally stole that from like, this is where I get in trouble for listening to too many podcasts and not remembering even like a quarter of what is being pumped
The
into my
information.
ear holes.
Here's a Swiss cheese memory just full of holes.
I think there was something about
So
It's like this thing where
like
there's
a marketing, like a toothpaste marketing thing where they like sold a tiny fraction of like land in Alaska,
got it.
but it
Sure.
was like too small to do anything with. It was like
It's like people
Charlie
who
and the
can-
Chocolate Factory golden ticket kind of scheme.
It's like
But
people
with
who can buy
toothpaste.
like 1
Thing.
square foot of land in another country to become like a duke or something.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you pay like $200 to become a duke of like the Greater Lands. Who knows?
So then you can claim your sovereign citizenship.
I guess that's
You get like
the
a fucking
bullshit they're
driver's
telling
license
these-
from this country.
I mean, no, it's a square
or they
foot
can
of
have a
land
bug
from
out location that's undisclosed.
Yeah. A bug out location that you can only stand on because that's the only size of it. Sorry. I keep burping.
Barely.
I have horrible acid reflux from the Trump case. But one of the hands that fed them ended up being the hand that fucked them up when in 1998, one of the crooked banks that GMI was working with based in Boulder, Colorado, got shut down by Colorado state's government. So this was like this shady bank that held most of GMI's assets because it looked the other way at large sums and deposits that would otherwise be reported to the IRS and flagged. And it was great because then it was like you had this account that was kind of operating like an offshore account, but here in the States. So it was really easy to do business through that bank. So this froze a huge amount of assets because the majority of them stateside were sitting in this bank in Colorado and stopped payments to GMI's donors. And without the US-based bank to support operations, the pyramid began to crumble. To appease their donors, and there's photos of these on the drive.
Yes.
They issued certificates promising returns in gold instead of cash through their illegitimate faith promises mining program.
Oh no!
But they didn't mine anything. So these folks just got a completely useless piece of paper.
Oh no, it's such bad clip art.
It's so bad.
It's like a recycle symbol with a cross in the middle and then like an old-timey, basically our Gossip in the Corpse Cart free font.
Yeah.
That says greater trust in God and then just like random amounts of money listed.
Yeah, the value.
As
that
like
must
a
be the
voucher.
value. Yeah.
One free massage.
Right.
I hand drew that font. I will have you know.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
Sorry,
but
sorry.
it's based on
Definitely
an
the recycling
existing
symbol.
It's based on an existing style of
Right.
typography. We didn't invent it,
God, this
and it's
is
available
so
as a
bad.
font. But yes, this is it's the
They're random
shittiest,
signatures.
dumbest voucher ever.
Random numbers.
Mm-hmm. Then, to plop some salt in their own wound, the state of Pennsylvania issued a $6.4 million civil penalty against GMI for operating in the state against their, banishment, their cease and desist. In 1999, and after nearly 10 years of consistent scamming and a 4-year-long federal investigation that seemed to drag on without any fucking progress, indictments finally came for the folks at the top of GMI who were brought up on charges of money laundering, fraud, and criminal conspiracy. The 7 horsemen of the apocalypse who ran GMI were all named in the indictments. So that includes Gerald Payne, his wife Betty Payne, Don Hall, Patrick Henry Talbert, the white supremacist. Well, I'm sure they're all fucking white supremacists, but the iconic one. David Whitfield, Andrew Krishak, and James Chambers. Early estimates placed the amount of money GMI collected at $100 million.
Holy shit!
Oh, but later estimates, certainly based on the 5% gas money commissions that they apparently collected, put the sum at $450 to $500 million taken from as many as 18,000 people, making GMI one of the largest pyramid schemes ever. So while not all of that money was lost, because we remember the early investors did receive some returns, victims of this pyramid scheme did lose upwards of $174 million, and more than half of that money came from Pennsylvania.
Oh,
That is-
God.
It's so much
money.
It's so much money. The investigation also unearthed plans to purchase an island, so maybe this was their sovereign square foot, and build an arsenal of weaponry for the church, including claymore mines, explosives, grenade launchers, machine guns, sniper rifles, surveillance balloons, and radar systems.
Because that's what every church needs.
Yeah, exactly. 2 of the defendants.
Psychopaths.
This is a quote. Sorry.
Also, what an island paradise.
Right. We'll call it Isle Epstein.
God,
Yeah, right.
Dynamo.
God Donovan. Holy shit.
That was good.
The anal Virgin Islands.
Oh my God, Dynamo. Okay, so I'll close this out with a quote. Quote, 2 of the defendants, Chambers and Krishak, agreed to plea bargains, but the others fought on. GMI's legal defense rested primarily on its contention that the government had no authority or power over any religious organization. In Payne's opinion,
That's not true.
it's not true. In Payne's opinion, the entire matter was a First Amendment issue. The jury disagreed.
Yeah, fortunately, Payne's opinion doesn't really hold
Does
any
not
water.
law make.
Our liberty is to be able to defraud people.
Right? That is the foundation of my very religious existence.
Kind
The
of,
jury
though.
disagreed, and after a lengthy trial that ended in March 12th of 2001, so it started in 99, it went on for like 2 years, all 5 defendants were convicted on multiple counts. Immediately after the verdict, the judge ordered them jailed to await sentencing. In August of 2001, the 5 received prison sentences ranging from 13 years for Betty Payne, 27 years for Gerald Payne, Don Hall received a 15-year sentence. David Whitefield and Patrick Henry Talbert were sentenced to 19 and 9.5 years, respectively.
19 and a half.
So the consequences of GMI's reign of larceny have not yet fully been established. Numerous people involved with GMI have yet to be prosecuted, while copycat schemes have already emerged. Meanwhile, most past victims are unlikely to get back much, if any, of the huge sums they invested. And extremist ideology combined with consummate con artistry made sure of that.
Wow.
And that is my case.
Yikes.
Greater Ministries International.
To quote Mary Chapin Carpenter,
Yes.
forgiveness doesn't come with a check.
Freedom isn't free.
You do not need to buy indulgences from Jesus to be forgiven or be a good person or have good karma.
Exactly.
No. Jesus has nothing to do with cash.
Jesus.
No.
Jesus is busy, you guys. He's busy.
Maybe.
If he exists.
Just
Anyway.
wants to be a hot carpenter. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Leave Jesus alone.
Leave Wine and Crime's new campaign. Leave Jesus alone.
Oh my God. Yes, I love it.
Literally and figuratively. So thank you to our very special fan picker, Lauren Kawasaki. This was a really fun one.
So good. It
Yeah.
was. It was wild to do
Lots
these notes.
to rant about.
Thanks again for the wine.
Yeah.
So wonderful. I'm sorry I didn't tap into mine because of my heartburn, but I'm saving it for a special
I tapped.
occasion.
I
She
tapped
tapped.
for both of us.
All right. We love you.
I love
We'll
you.
see you next week.
Bye-bye.